Hello again everyone from Tokyo, Japan, and welcome back to Japan Vintage Camera, where it's a very beautiful early spring day here at Hinokicho Park. It's a very busy day here at the park today. It's busy because of a couple of reasons. First reason is it's lunchtime. The park is surrounded by office buildings. A lot of people who are working in the offices like to come here to the park to enjoy having a nice lunch outdoors in the beautiful weather. Another reason it's busy is that the cherry blossoms are opening. This park has a rather famous avenue of cherry trees leading from the main entrance to the main lawn of the park, and a lot of people come here to enjoy the cherry blossoms. This is a very important time of year in Japan for a few different reasons. First, it's important because it's a beautiful time of year. Second reason, this is the graduation season in Japan in March, when people are graduating from the different schools and university, and also getting ready to start either their next school year or to begin university. The first day of school is April 1st. This is also the big hiring day for most companies, and when young people graduate from university in March, they usually begin working for their new companies on April 1st. Japanese people love to come out and enjoy the cherry blossoms. It's kind of a good way to drink and relax and have fun with friends in what is kind of sometimes a stressful situation for a lot of people. April 1st is also kind of the start of the fiscal year and the time of year when you have to have your taxes and other bills and everything paid up. It's a good time of year for some. For others, it's not such a good time of year. This is also the season of the year when more people than usual would jump in front of trains. So not everything is positive for the springtime in Japan, but for the most part, it's a great time of year. If you're planning on visiting Japan sometime in the future, one of these days, this is a good time of year to come. The cherry blossom season is when people are out having a really good time. The parks are very beautiful. Most places in Japan have lots of cherry trees in the parks and different neighborhoods, and it really makes things more beautiful. Tokyo is a very interesting city, but a few would call it a beautiful city. Its beauty is its uniqueness and such like that. All the odd-looking buildings, none of which look like each other, arranged in kind of I don't know, the way a 3-year-old would assemble blocks, making a neighborhood. That's kind of the way Tokyo is, but in cherry blossom season kind of distracts you from the oddness of the landscape and architecture and allows you to look at kind of the beauty of nature in the middle of the city. So let's go ahead and get started with today's review, and today I'm going to be talking about the Ricohflex Model 7 twin lens reflex camera. For those of you who are new to my channel, I sell vintage Japanese cameras in my online store, japanvintagecamera.com. I also have an Etsy store, and it is also called Japan Vintage Camera. So if you're interested in purchasing this camera or another vintage Japanese camera, please visit one of my stores. I'll post links to my stores in the description below the video. So normally I don't sell these earlier Ricohflex twin lens reflex cameras because in the past I haven't been able to come across any really good examples, but recently I got something of a box of these things, and a lot of them are in surprisingly good shape, so I decided to kind of dive into them, do some work to them, and get some ready and cleaned up and put up for sale, and also to make a video about them. Besides this video review, I'm going to be posting a video about how to do an overhaul of one of these cameras, similar to my other video, how to refurbish a twin lens reflex camera. I have to make a separate video for these cameras because they are quite a bit different from the more typical Rolleiflex copy twin lens reflex camera. So for those of you who want to know how to fix one of these cameras or bring an old one back to life, hopefully later this week I'll have that other video up. So let's go ahead and take a look at the controls, features, functions, and how to use the Ricohflex Model 7. First, I'll just give you a rough description. The Ricohflex early ones are simply a steel box made of steel stampings which are spot welded together in a rectangular box like this. There is a steel panel which screws onto the front, and into this panel are a pair of lenses which focus, turning on two separate helicoids. And when you turn one or the other lenses, both of them will rotate. The lenses used in these cameras are very similar to the folding or what they call spring cameras here in Japan. And that is, they have a kind of a two-piece lens. The rear half of the lens is fixed and the front half of the lens moves when you are focusing the camera. Some people claim that this kind of lens isn't as accurate or as good as a twin lens reflex camera or other kind of camera where the entire lens moves as a fixed unit. But in my experience, I've seen and I've taken some really wonderful pictures with cameras with this kind of lens. 90% of us wouldn't be able to tell the difference between a photograph taken with a Ricohflex Model 7 and a Rolleiflex with a planar or Xenotar lens, which costs 40 times as much money. So a really good performer and a great value. Like the other twin lens reflex cameras, it has a mechanical leaf shutter and a focusing hood located on the top and a simple film counter system on the back. We're going to go ahead and start by looking at the viewfinder assembly on the top, and to operate that you simply pop it up like so, and if you pop it up and quickly, the magnifying glass will pop up over the top by itself automatically. And you look through this magnifier and use it to help you focus on the ground glass, which is located inside here. When you are focusing in an image, the image comes through the viewing lens, reflects off a mirror onto the focusing screen, and allows you to see what the camera is seeing. And the kind of odd thing with this is these lines which are cut into the top of the viewfinder hood. And this is part of what is called a sports finder, and this is a very different sports finder than what you normally find. Normally the sports finders on twin lens reflex cameras have just two windows. They have a small one in the back, like this one. This one has the small hole right here, and a large one in the front. This camera, due to its design and the, I guess, low cost, they didn't want to make something so sophisticated, so they just came up with this very simple slots milled into the front and the square window on the back. And how it operates, when you are using the sports finder in a twin lens reflex camera, you normally have the camera focused at infinity, so you don't have to worry about using the ground glass or anything. And you would set your shutter speed and aperture, and if you're shooting sports in the sunlight like most people would do, say I would use maybe f8 or f16 and a faster shutter speed. The shutter speed on these cameras varies in range. This particular one has a full range shutter from 1 second to 1/500th of a second. So on a day like today, shooting sunny 16, I could use, I would just shoot, say, 1/500th of a second at between f11 and an f16. And that would freeze the action, and anything in the sunlight would give me a pretty good photograph. When you start shooting in darker conditions where you need longer exposure times, it can be a little bit more difficult to take a sports photograph and freeze the subject, especially if you have one of the other ones which has a maximum speed of 1/100th of a second. You're not going to really be able to stop motion too well with one of those. But this particular version, despite the rather primitive finder, you can actually take action photographs with this. The outer lines here in the hood are showing the limits of what you're going to see on the film, and the inner lines here kind of give you kind of a limit on your subject. If it's moving, you want it to be completely blocked by this box and not see, say, the person running in the front or in the back. If it's blocked and you can't see the subject, which sounds really crazy, that's when you should take a photograph. So kind of a quirky kind of thing. The focus system is pretty simple. As I said before, you turn one ring or the other and both will turn. We have a focusing scale on the top, and in the old Ricohflex cameras, these were designed mainly for exports to America and the UK, so they are measured in feet. And behind that you have a depth of field scale showing how much depth of field you have for any given aperture. On the shutter here on the left side we have a aperture lever which opens and closes the aperture, and we have a shutter speed ring, which is very much like any other twin lens reflex camera or mini rangefinder cameras or large format cameras. Here we have the flash sync plug, and this is for the old style Kodak cables. You can get adapters if you want to run a flash with one of these. Charging the shutter is very similar to some of the later Ricohflex diodes. You simply pull it one way to charge the shutter and push it the other way to fire the shutter. As I said, there is another version, or a more common version of this camera, which has a slower shutter, and I have an example of that here. And as you can see, this one has only 4 shutter speeds in addition to B. It has a 1/4 second, 50th of a second, and 100th of a second. Actually, 4 speeds including B. I'm a little mistaken there. And operating the shutter is very similar. You lift up to charge the shutter and you push down to fire it. This earlier version here has a socket here where you can attach a standard cable release. The other version here, you would attach it to the bottom. I'll go ahead and show you how to load the film. In the Ricohflex model 7, 6543, whatever it is you have, it's much different in one of these cameras than it will be for another twin lens reflex camera. So to load the film, you have to pull the lock on the side, give it a little squeeze so that the locking tab comes off of the little pin here, and open it like so. What you need to do next is you need to pull out the film winding knob and turn it a little bit so it locks open, and then pull out this entire box like so. When you are loading a roll of film, you would load it in the bottom here where you have these 2 pins, one on either side. And if this were a roll of film, I would push it in there and pull out this silver tab and set the roll of film here so I can pull the leader toward these chrome plated rollers here. I pull the film over there and I would have my take-up spool set here. So I would feed the film into the take-up spool and turn it a few turns so it locks in place, and then take the entire assembly and drop it back inside, and then turn the film winding knob until the take-up spool starts turning. And just keep turning and turning and turning and turning until the arrows on the back of the film backing paper are exposed and are lined up more or less in the center of the film chamber. Then close the film door, making sure that the pin is caught in the center so it doesn't open up accidentally. Lift open the cover on the film counter window and start winding the film some more. 120 roll film has, it's numbered, and the numbers are in different locations depending on the format you are shooting. If you're shooting 6x6 format, the numbers are kind of right in the middle. So just keep winding until the number comes up. Now, most kinds of film have a warning letting you know that the number is coming up, and it'll be in the form of lines, dots, or stars, or something like that. And as they get closer together, it means the number is coming up. When the number is right in the center, the exact center of the window, go ahead and close the catch. Then go ahead and set your shutter speed. So say I'm going to take a shot here today with this camera, and I'll go ahead and stop it all the way down and set my shutter speed to 1/100th of a second and charge the shutter. Then I will open the viewfinder. I'll open it quickly so it pops open like so. And I will focus, then I will compose, and then I will simply shoot. And that's all there is to it, to taking a photograph with one of these cameras. So, once again, that's the Ricohflex, the early Ricohflex, the model 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 2, 1. I'm not sure about the earlier models. I don't see those very much. There is another version which is called the Ricoh Million, which works just like this. I'll be listing this camera and a few other Ricoh 7s in my online stores, JapanVintageCamera.com, and my Etsy store. So if you're interested in buying one, please visit one of my stores. As I said, I'll post links to my stores in the description below the video. I plan to be making more videos shortly about different kinds of cameras, and also the maintenance video for the Ricohflex Model 7. So if you want to see this, I recommend subscribing. If you like the video, please click the like button. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you tune in again soon.